which is difficult. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Matthew chapter 11, verse 11. Think for a moment which is difficult, living under the law of Moses or the law of Jesus. In most Christians' opinion, living under the law of Moses is very difficult than living under the law of Jesus. Grace. We think it's easy to live under grace, asking God for forgiveness every time we sin, than living under the law, being punished immediately when we fail to keep the commandments. It is because we completely misunderstood grace as a license to sin, when it is actually the power of God that prevents and protects us from falling into sin. We take God's commandments so casually, thinking that God forgives us. Of course, He does forgive, but that shouldn't encourage us to think of His judgment lightly. Bible says that Jesus is greater than Moses. Therefore, the standards and the commandments of Jesus are also greater than Moses. Yes, the spiritual standards Jesus set before us are far higher than the standards of Old Covenant. The lives that God expecting us to live are far greater and better than the lives of Old Covenant. If it was difficult for a man to keep the law of Moses, it is much more difficult for us to live keeping Jesus' standards. In fact, it is impossible for us to live such lives with human effort. That's why we are given Holy Spirit who lives in us. Think for instance, the new commandments that Jesus has given about adultery and murder, Matthew chapter 5. And what about the commandments like rejoicing always, giving thanks in all the circumstances, loving the enemy? Do you think it's all easy? Never. Think of Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 7, verse 14. The gateway to life is very narrow and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. The few are those who press on to live with the Jesus standards